called Hello and Welcome to a Star to Steer Her By. Some kind of pod thing.
Woo!
That sounds correct.
Some kind of pod thing. What are you, Jake?
Sound clown.
She does a good you impression.
This is episode 136.
Woo!
Hot dog. And we're talking about TNG. We're almost done with TNG. Why is this wet?
Holy
God
Toledo.
damn it!
That's definitely what he said.
I like it dry, damn it!
No one does. The answer is condensation for the listeners out there who are concerned.
Condensation.
What was I talking about? Pod thing. Star Trek. That's the one.
Sound clown.
Star things. Ooh, cold chill. Damn.
It should be obvious already by all the blathering, but this is Ames.
This is Caitlin.
This is Jake. This is Chris.
Today we are covering Lower Decks and Thine Own Self. I get the good week. Ha ha!
I always make sure to cover my lower decks.
Oh. Let's talk about Lower Decks, and let me tell you what's going to go on.
Ooh.
We have a whole bunch of junior officers awaiting their crew evaluations. We meet Sam Lavelle, who's basically mini Riker.
And a little bitch.
Basically mini Riker.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
He imagines he could grow that beard.
Not as good with women, though, I don't think.
He learns that both he and Sito Jaxa, who we've met in the first duty on Nova Squadron, being a little follower, we learn that they're both up for the same supervisory? Why am I blanking on this word?
I don't know. Is it supervisory?
Supervisory position.
Commander.
But that's
Commands.
not even what it is. They're for the ops position.
Yeah, that's right.
I wrote this off the internet, so...
Now, you know
it's
why, though?
Obviously right.
Because what's-her-ass was going to be a commander in another thing.
No idea what we're talking about. We also meet Torek, who is a Vulcan engineer, and we already know and are fond of Alyssa Ogawa, Bev's nurse, and she's dating Lieutenant Powell, which becomes important barely.
Ben. Don't forget Ben.
Ben, the civilian waiter. Yeah, he's fun. So all of these people are up for their evaluations. They learn that they're all doing great. Everyone's a big fan of all these fresh-faced youngsters. And some weird shit keeps happening around the ship, and then the junior officers don't get all the information, and they're trying to piece it together when they're not allowed to talk about what's going on. And Sam, in particular, is getting very frustrated because he has the least information of everyone. Because we know that Alyssa has seen that a Cardassian has been brought aboard via this little escape pod thing, and then they're hanging out in medbay with him. And she's like, okay, this is interesting, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. Torek, in constantly one-upping LaForge, learns that we're trying to shoot things at the shuttlecraft for reasons that make it look like it's been in a fight. That's interesting. I wonder what that's about.
Not me. Let's just keep going. No, I'm just kidding.
And then Ensign Sito has a couple confrontations with Picard in which he fucking totally chews her out for the whole Nova Squadron thing, and she barely defends herself and goes home and cries. And then Worf kicks her ass for a while in blindfold karate. And she learns a lesson. She learns she should stand up for herself. And she goes to Picard and says, see here, Picard, it's not my fault. It was all Wesley's fault after all. Fuck that nerd.
And I didn't give up like a little bitch.
And Picard says, exactly! Now I'm a big fan of yours. Let's have you do some missions. And he says, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to return this Cardassian guy who's actually our operative to the Cardassians so that they don't know that he's our operative.
Question. Was he actually a Cardassian?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, he was just a spy.
Okay, I just want to make sure that he was... Okay.
So he's going to pretend to steal the shuttlecraft with you as a hostage because, they hate Bajorans and you're a Bajoran and this is a great idea. You're going to escape, we'll come pick you up and, it'll all work. And it doesn't all work and Sito ends up dead.
I was really fucking upset.
It's upsetting. It was a terrible, terrible idea to have her do this.
Picard's like, I really like you. How would you like a suicide mission?
Basically.
Sounds great.
I mean,
Thanks.
shit. He sent his fucking lover on a suicide mission. That is really how Picard says he likes you.
Vash?
Gross. Were they...
No, the...
Oh, Darren?
Yeah.
Did he send her specifically, though?
He did. Because she had experience with the duotronic fluctuating kaboobler.
Piano. It's called a piano, Chris.
Touche.
Anyway, this is a very, very well-regarded episode. I really, really liked it.
It's a well-regarded episode that's going to be lending its title to a probably bad cartoon.
Oh, I hope not. But probably.
Lower.
If they make it like this, it will be great.
Yeah.
But
So,
they won't.
so something I noticed about this episode is that the title is a reference to the fact that the characters that are featured in this episode are lower in the command structure than the characters that we normally follow.
Whoa.
They also have to bunk up with each other, which means
Yeah.
someone probably has the lower
that's
bunk.
this is a massive, massive, massive ship. And you're telling me they have to bunk up?
Oh, it's just to
Fucking
show the
losers?
ensigns who's boss. It's hazing.
It really seems that way.
I took a massive ship earlier.
In fact, have we ever seen a character that was
Tell me more, Kate. No.
grooming with another character?
Miles and Keiko.
Did Wesley even live with his mom? I don't think we ever saw Wesley's quarters.
I mean, if
I think
Bev was in a position of power, she was probably like, get this little prick out of my
That's
quarters.
True. That's true.
But it had nothing to do with Wesley.
Certainly not
like
in-
Wesley's choice.
not in TNG, but in Star Trek 6, when they're doing the shipwide announcement, we do see, like, crewmen in, I think, triple bunks.
Yeah, and I
At
know
one
that in
point.
the future, like on much smaller ships, like the like the Defiant, they have bunks. But in terms of this ship, which there's like these massive staterooms that everybody seems to have.
Yeah, no,
They couldn't have made Counselor Troy's suite 0.2% smaller, so that poor
Ben.
Torok didn't have to hang out with
Sam.
Sam and his whiny bitchness.
Do you think Sam moved out now that he's a JG?
I'm gonna guess so. That
He
that's
needs the
one of
wank in space.
The benefits of the rank. Yeah.
In my mind, none of them ever talked to him again. That's my headcanon.
Well, yeah, because we'll never see him again.
Well, no, I just mean like his friends are like
I know.
that fucking
You know
guy.
what's hilarious is that the characters were just so they're very well fleshed out as
They were.
characters. They did a great job with these guys. That a lot of fans assumed that these guys were going to be regulars in Voyager,
Huh.
Whoops.
and the staff is like, no, but thank you, I guess. But we're not doing nothing but
It
junior
would-
officers in
But
Voyager.
it would have been kind of neat because they had Harry Kim, who
Yeah.
was famously an ensign, now outranked by
Wesley
Wesley probably, but also by what's his fuck.
Livingston.
Nog.
But no, the fuck not Ben, Steve, Joe,
Sam.
What's his- Sam.
Oh, yes, Sam.
Red shirt kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Well, if Harry Kim took on more suicide missions, then maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
is I know there is a semi-regular Vulcan in Voyager. Is that this guy or is that a different actor?
Oh, Tuvok?
No. He's a regular. There's like a semi-regular Vulcan we see in Voyager.
Tuvix.
no.
Two
Tuvix
Vicks
is
or
half
not two
Talaxian.
Vicks?
I don't
I
know
don't
who you're talking
remember.
about, but it sounds cool.
No, that's not how the quote ends, James.
But yeah, I could totally see. I could see where people were coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Torek was a great Vulcan.
Yeah.
He did a great job because I know I complain a lot about Vulcan acting and how
Oh, no,
they
we
don't
often
fucking
all
get
do.
it right.
No, it was good.
He did a great job. He showed up Geordi a bunch of times, and Geordi got really peeved, and it was great.
Well, I also love it's like Gordo, don't take the Vulcan to like help you with your little secret mission.
Why did
He's
he-
going to figure it out.
Why did he even need help shooting the shuttlecraft?
And if you do, get Data
Have Worf do it.
or him.
Have Ro do it.
Yeah.
Where's Ro? We miss Ro.
Yeah, Ro would have
Well,
been.
Ro survived,
Ro
so-
probably could have kicked ass in that. She probably wouldn't have gotten killed. Like
No, that's true.
Cito.
Ouch.
I know.
I have to admit, it took me until
I like Bajoran escapees who don't get killed. Okay.
it took me until she was getting chewed out to realize who that was.
Yeah,
Oh.
I
did
didn't
not
recognize
make
her
the
either.
connection.
Oh.
But I don't.
I mean, it can be understood because they reuse actors so much on this show.
But I mean, I didn't even think like, oh, she's familiar. Like I was like, all right, some new kid.
I mean,
Yeah,
it also
same.
means that it works without knowing the context of her being in that
Yeah.
episode.
We know that she got in trouble, disgraced her uniform, and is somehow still here.
What'd she do to her uniform?
Shit on it. She shit her pants. And when she was almost going to crash and explode in that that fighter,
I'm
she
sure
probably
I would
shit
shit my
herself.
pants too.
Same.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so amusingly, that's what it is. The guy that plays Torek, Alexander Enberg, appears as a different Vulcan on Voyager,
Cool.
named Vorik.
Well, we know he's good for it.
Oh,
So
Vorik.
his name is almost identical.
Ah,
So they basically could have actually they probably didn't want to pay the writer of this
it's-
episode, like with Tom Paris.
That happens.
But he's not
I
like
have
a
one of him.
semi-regular.
I have a one of him.
He has a
in
couple
Timelines.
appearances though, doesn't he?
Maybe.
I thought he did.
Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, they named him Torek because they knew that Tuvok was going to be a thing, and they're like, we need to make sure they have T names now. They're not all S's.
Yeah.
Well, they ran out of S names. They're just going through the
And
alphabet.
it meant I kept thinking they were saying Twerk. I'm like, what is his name?
But yeah, no, he was good. Like I say, I think he nailed Vulcan-ness pretty well. They were all good. Like I said, even Sam was good at being annoying baby Riker.
oh,
I
but
wanted to bitch
fucking
slap
that
him.
fucking scene with him talking to Riker in the bar. Oh.
Oh,
Dude,
you're,
so
you're Canadian, right?
awkward.
No, dude.
Now here's the question:
He just walks out with 2 drinks on the bar.
Did Ben legitimately forget, or was he fucking with Sam?
Ooh, I like Ben.
I'm gonna say Ben
Way to
wasn't
go,
being
Ben.
malicious. He was trying to help and just because I can understand that geopolitical boundaries as we know them today aren't really a thing.
That's true.
So
That's a good point.
really what is Canada
yeah.
and what is Alaska?
But-
Well,
Yeah,
and
like, what do you
Alaska is, it just dangling off of Canada.
and
like that.
Alaska is its own place, probably. There's probably an identity that people associate
Yeah.
with Alaska, and there's probably an identity that people associate with Canada.
I mean, they are both cold.
Yeah, but then again, I don't know. I mean, we know that Iowa is still a place. We know
Yeah.
that San Francisco is still a city. Well, it's a city, but is California a place that people talk about?
They never really said.
Fell
I mean,
off
it's not
into
like
the sea.
it's not
They
like
had to
I mean,
rename
I
another
guess like
sea.
it's probably more of like a local thing, right? Because people, I don't think most people I know, like I think Americans and maybe non-Germans, but Americans
I don't
anyway,
know where this
they
is
think
going.
of Germany as being a country,
Mm.
right? And it's Germany. But if you ask a German, they might be like, "Yeah, I'm Bavarian or I'm Prussian."
Yeah.
Because there's so it might be a thing.
One of them might even say,
So it might be
"Ich bin
if
ein
you're
Berliner."
from Canada or if you're from Alaska, you have a strong Alaskan identity. But from outside, people are like, "Oh yeah, it's in the map near. It's Canada. It's part of Canada."
But they're also politically American, so.
But there's no. I'm gonna guess there's.
Oh, yeah,
no
in the future,
in
yeah,
the future,
it's-
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well-
so once everything is, once everything
no-
is one nation, one global.
There's no America because the Federation is America.
I don't think so.
I not really no, but I mean, especially
America is a lot shittier than the Federation.
it's true. But a lot of the elements of the American identity seem to be in there,
Yeah.
probably because of where the show's from.
Oh, where's the show from?
It's like
Canada?
how all of space
But
is
interestingly,
exceptionally
the
British in
capital,
Doctor
the
Who.
capital of the Federation is Paris.
yeah.
So there's that. Suck on that. We took over Paris, wiped out their people,
Ate their
and
toast.
destroyed their language,
Bye, friend.
Replaced them with the
and
British.
then put our capital in their city to just be a final fuck you.
But who wants some grapes?
Mm.
Picard. Here's a question that's getting us off this topic.
There are
Yes,
floodlights.
Is Lieutenant Powell actually cheating on Ogawa?
He better not.
No,
I'll find him.
So what was this thing that Bev saw?
He was...
Wingman.
No, she didn't see... What do
I
you
think
mean?
she was like, she didn't see anything. It was Ogawa was like, he's been distant lately because he's been working on this proposal.
Yeah, but that's the proposal he's been working on.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Bev said that. Wasn't she,
She saw
saying,
him-
"Oh, I saw him talking with another girl, and
Yeah,
I'm
well,
really
that's-
concerned about Alyssa."
That thing, it was
now."
probably like a friend of his who's a woman, and he was like, "Oh God, I want to ask her, but I don't want to fuck up. What do I do?"
I'm gonna shit my pants like Cito Jaxa,
Yikes!
Wow.
who's known. That's what she's actually known for. It's not the.
She's a known pants
It's not.
shitter.
It's
But yeah,
not
I
the
presume
disgrace she brought
that's what.
upon
Yeah, no, I
herself.
presume she was probably a friend who he was like, "All right, I'm gonna do this."
I'm
How do I
gonna,
not
I'm
fuck
gonna
up?
go
And
ahead
Bev
and
just-
stop you right there. It's a well-known fact that men and women can't be friends.
Yeah, this is why Bev has so much girl talk with everybody, because that's all they ever talk. All they
Yeah.
ever do is bang men.
That's why she was confused. She didn't understand, that men can talk to women and not want to fuck them.
So does Picard always make a shipwide announcement when somebody dies in the line of duty?
I should hope not,
Because
because
that's going to be
That's
a
gonna
full
take a
time
while.
job.
Yeah.
She just have like a pre-recorded thing, and he just has to say the name.
Yeah. It's like,
all hands. Today we mourn the loss of Joe Thornton,
Don't you fucking dare take that out, Chris.
who died in the 24th century after skating for the San Jose Sharks for 400 years.
Okay. Don't you dare kill Joe Thornton. You take all this out, Chris.
Wait, didn't Joe Thornton...
Jake
didn't he
I'm
used to
saying
play
he lives for 400 years.
And apparently so used to
Didn't-
San Jose Sharks.
Didn't he used
Go
to play...
Sharks.
God damn it, didn't he used to be a Bruin, though?
He did. He did.
Okay.
And now he has the most magnificent beard.
That's why she likes him, because
He's beautiful.
Because she liked him as a Bruin.
Well, I like the Sharks too.
He's a pretty man. You don't have to explain liking him to me.
It
I
would
like
also be
him.
super awkward if it's like,
Oh,
you know,
I
they
think
bring
he
him
looks
back to the ship after they've rescued him from the Borg, and he's going to announce all the people that died on the ship because he attacked it. Hello, everyone. This is weird. You know, I presume that was just for the extra emotional impact, because, yeah, otherwise it's like...
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also because, like, literally no one had any fucking clue where she went.
That's true.
Like, it's different
Yeah.
when it's like, oh, there's a normal thing happening, but when you're, like, going on the secret mission.
Yeah, there are people who have, no idea she'd even left.
Yeah, I was almost a little bit surprised when they're, scouting around looking for the escape pod. And Sam is like, what are we looking for? And they're like, we're looking for a dead Bajoran. And he puts it together like, fucking hell!
But that's
Well, I think he'd already started to put it together, which is part of the reason.
I think they knew. I think they figured she left on the shuttle. They knew that.
Yeah.
But that was another thing I found interesting about this episode. I mean, it's something I think we've already kind of always assumed, but they specifically even said, like, we have to consider that as junior officers, we're not always going to be privy to everything that's going on the ship. So as audience members, we're always in the know. Like, we always know what the plan is.
Yeah, like we know all the different components. Like each of them knows one thing. But like, we know all the things.
From the perspective of, the guy in the nacelle tube.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
And that's normal. And that's right. Like, there are people who, we're at least seeing people who are indirectly connected to this mission for various reasons. Meanwhile, there's some guy in astrophysics who literally has no idea about any of this.
Where even are we right now?
And then all of a sudden there's an announcement this woman died, and he's like, okay.
It's normal.
Thanks.
It's like, I imagine there's some dude on the ship. He's the guy that, like, works in the waste recycling area, and, like, one day he's like, hey man, I just heard that Picard was a Borg once? What the
Took like 4 years for that to trickle down to his section.
But yeah, no, it was
like
that was really well done. It's like it lets you remember, like, oh yeah, no, like we always see this from the perspective of the main figures. Like, we are the spider under the table or whatever every week.
Do you mean the fly on the wall?
Shut up, you cocky human fuck.
And from a production perspective, I like that. I mean, eventually we figured out what was going on.
Yeah,
but that they kept our perspective from the kids for a good chunk of it. Where we didn't, like, when they went for their conference room meeting, we didn't go to that meeting. We didn't get to see that. But presumably that meeting was where they talked about, oh yeah, there's this defector we got to go pick up and take care of. Yeah, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah. It's and that's when it really does strike you just how much it really is like. Because up to that point, like, we're following these people, but some audiences might think, all right, but now we're going to follow them into the... We're not... This is weird.
Awkward.
I guess we're going to stay with these two? It's really a very clever... It's almost like how... Was the episode actually called First Contact?
The one with Riker banging that lady?
That's the one where he's in the hospital in disguise as an alien.
Yeah, and it's like they keep it really almost like... Occasionally they check it on Riker, but it's almost exclusively from the perspective of the natives of the planet.
Exactly, yeah.
This is kind of like a take on that, only it's almost weirder because it's so much closer to home, but it's still like not quite what we're used to.
Yeah, we see a little bit from the other's point of view, like the dueling poker games, which is very cute.
That was clever.
And then Ben gets to be in both of them.
Yeah, I like how Ben just is like, because he's friends. He
calls him Will.
Which that's a character I kind of wish they'd thought of a while ago. Like, he'd have been a good one to have, like, around just, like, especially if, like...
Days when Guinan's not there.
Yeah, like, he'd be really useful, just this... And he's a different perspective, because even Guinan, like, because she's such a confidant for Picard, he's just this guy who just kind of knows everybody, and does float between these worlds freely, in a way that, even Guinan doesn't.
He doesn't have to follow the Prime Directive. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's got Sarjenka just hanging out somewhere. He saved her.
Yep.
I actually really loved the relationship between Worf and Sita. Is that her name? Sito. I enjoyed, I really liked how, I feel like, okay, let me start again. I feel like you don't really see that side of Worf a lot. Like, you don't think of him as being, a warm, fuzzy, let me take you under my wing.
Especially to Alexander.
I was going to say.
Well,
he likes
he was
her
a better
more than he likes
father
his
to
son.
JAXA than he was to his own son.
Well, I mean, how can he be a good father to his own son? His own son is away at boarding school where he belongs. That's where you send children you hate, right?
I'm pretty sure if he got a letter saying Alexander had died, he'd be less upset than he was by the death of JAXA.
We saw literally
He uses that head ridge thing as an ashtray.
or as one of the 3 shells.
Father, I didn't know you smoked. I took it up just to define a gift.
Well, to be fair, he used to ash in Alexander's mouth.
That's right.
So it's the next best thing. But I also kind of, as much as I thought the whole thing, the whole lesson was super cheesy, I made it up, haha, it just takes courage to speak up, I also kind of liked it, because it was...
Well, I like that she caught him in it because she knew what the word meant, and he was like, oh.
Fuck, you speak Klingon? Ha! Well, what a coincidence.
No, she assumes it's to the death the whole time, oh fuck, he's blindfolding and will kill me.
Yeah. If she knew what it meant, I don't know if... It seems a little strange that she was so eager to go along with it.
That's the thing, she probably knew from the off. This name's a bit weird. I'm gonna just see where this goes.
I think, he's your commanding officer.
He's not gonna murder you. Probably.
Maybe.
How many people has Worf murdered while on duty?
I don't know.
Geordi, a couple universes.
Just the lead, the potential.
Who hasn't wanted to murder Geordi in at least a few?
No.
The loser of the Klingon election.
I think because he took his comm badge off,
that's
he was
true.
technically on a break.
Was he wearing a comm badge in his gi?
I don't know.
Yikes. Well, I mean, but then Picard turned around and fucking killed her, so...
That's true. Worf's, Picard's like, get tall, motherfucker. That's how you do it, Lieutenant Worf.
Captain, I think we should... Worf, haven't I made you look like my bitch enough this week?
Mercy.
But yeah, I was super upset. As soon as they revealed what the mission was, I'm like, oh, she's not coming back.
Yeah, it's even tougher because I almost felt like the fact that she was Bajoran, they were just kind of using her a bit.
Oh, for sure.
That's almost. I don't think it's why Worf was pushing for her to do the thing, but I'm sure it's why the rest were like, yeah, we'll use Sita. She's Bajoran. It'll make sense.
Well, no, but Worf probably knew it was a pretty, reasonable possibility, but he probably also still thinks that, dying in battle is glorious.
They don't really explain. I get that, this guy's a valuable intelligence asset, but why was it so critical that he make it back? Because it sounded like he was just delivering information.
Well, maybe because he has to go back and get more information.
There's always going to be more information.
They don't have another Cardassian operative over there right now.
But, it strikes me that there's a myriad ways you could get somebody to Cardassia. You could book him to travel on a civilian ship. We know that, ships come and go from Deep Space Nine, for example,
except
all the
there
time.
would be... So it sounds like the impression I'm under is, he'd been attacked in Cardassian space by somebody. Because they found him in rough shape.
Presumably, I assumed.
Well, yeah, because he was beamed directly to sickbay, right?
Yeah, I assumed that he had been attacked. They found out he was a traitor and blew up.
But then
his
you
ship.
wouldn't send him back,
Right.
Unless whatever he managed to kill his attackers, but his ship was still fucked or something.
Yeah, it's the whole premise of that mission is a bit of a contrivance because it just seems like there's.
Vague, but the thing is, there would be suspicion if he just casually came back, so they had to have this whole. They maybe didn't.
But they even said that he was not. He was pretending to be somebody else. He said that if they encounter a patrol, they're going to say that he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Which is okay, no, you're a military officer.
I'm not sure why.
We've established this.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, you might as well just have pretended to be a civilian on a civilian transport.
Who you claim, or just actually be who you are. So they'll be like, yeah, I stole a shuttle, but you don't need to have a prisoner with you. How would a bounty hunter have gotten a shuttle from the Enterprise? Wait a minute, this plane just keeps getting dumber.
Yeah, I think the other thing, though, is that maybe there's also the possibility, not explored or supported by the episode that he was a double agent delivering misinformation.
No, I liked him too much.
And they killed they killed Cito as a witness.
Mm.
No, he was being really nice to Cito before having to handcuff her on the floor.
He wouldn't be a very good double agent if he wasn't convinced.
Yeah, if he was just an asshole.
Yeah, but why continue his cover with her if they're gonna kill her later anyway?
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked the conversation he had with Cito. I thought
Maybe
he
he
was
was kind of a nice guy and he was like hoping that they'd let her go, so he wanted to keep the ruse going. But then the like Gull shithead showed up and was like, "No witnesses." I don't know.
Whoops.
Can't make an omelet, etc.
That was Picard's report back to Starfleet. Mission mostly successful. Ensign lost. Whoops.
What I didn't understand though is they say it's
She reminded me of Wesley. It's fine.
Where the fuck are the escape pods on a fucking
That's
shuttle?
an excellent question.
There's no room for an escape. The bench in the back may be used as an escape pod.
There
if
you
you
go.
are.
You lift the lid.
Well,
yeah,
it's a flotation device.
Yeah.
Like
that's actually what the nacelles are.
Yeah, there you go. They're just you can climb inside them.
I could see that. That might work.
If they're not like actively full of plasma and shit.
Well, because they apparently aren't warp capable, depending on the episode. So they're not. They're not full of plasma if it's not a warp capable shuttle.
If they're not on, it's okay.
They're just pontoons for no reason.
With storage.
Yeah.
They're like those things that people strap to the top of their car that look like a beetle.
Yeah.
You look like a beetle.
What is this?
You know those things you see on I often see them on like station wagons.
Yeah.
Where they look like they're like long and they're kind of dome shaped and they're like
plastic.
they're like a plastic storage.
Oh yes, okay, I have seen
It is
this.
funny.
I
got a station wagon, but I still don't have enough room. Get me a beetle hat.
Yeah.
A beetle hat.
Yeah, well, it's because people with station wagons.
They're always going
I
camping
don't
and shit.
see station wagons really anymore.
They were largely supplanted by the SUV.
I call most SUVs station wagons.
That's something wrong with
Well, I was gonna say that's just wrong.
Because they're just tall like the Subaru Forester. It's a fucking station wagon. People.
Yeah, the Foresters. Yeah, that still has the lines of a station wagon in a lot of way.
I love station wagons.
In Britain,
the Ford Escape is borderline.
In Britain, they're called estate cars.
What about the Yaris?
The Yaris?
No,
the
the
Yaris
Yaris
isn't either.
That's technically
a hatchback.
That's a
Sorry,
hatchback.
I was thinking of hatchbacks.
Anyway.
The Top Gear segment.
Anyway, originally, Cito's death was going to be more ambiguous, and then we weren't going to make it clear if she lived or died, because there was an idea that maybe she'd be discovered alive in a DS9 episode.
Maybe they find her half
mom.
her half Cardassian daughter.
I get it. I was actually
I don't get it yet, but okay.
What's her
Sela.
fuck?
Sela, rather.
Sela was captured
Tasha
by
Yar
the
and
Romulan.
stuff.
Oh, I get it now.
Apparently, in the novels, she was resurrected. Yeah, she wasn't killed.
What's
she
up
was
with
captured.
These fucking novelists doing fucking nonsense.
They don't have original ideas, so they just go and trash everything that happened
Everything
in an
you've
episode.
told me about the Star Trek novels just leads me further into the belief that they're just fan fiction.
It
that
just makes me
somehow
wish
has a
I
budget.
didn't have to
Like that's
read.
it does seem like because most of these that I'm reporting back on, I've just read summaries of online.
Like they find,
But yes, that is what they seem
the
to be.
destroyed
largely.
escape pod, and they find the remains of a Bajoran.
Yep.
Was there another Bajoran in an escape pod in this exact spot?
No, they had a different Bajoran they killed and shoved in there to fake them out, I'm
with a
sure,
fake
or
out.
something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like what
Because they wanted to find out
Kiva
what she
Spajo
knew. She wanted
Because she's an ensign, she's clearly
they
important.
wanted to debrief her about Wesley's nanites.
Yes.
did.
Apparently,
I like this theory.
I did wind up seeing what they had to say about the various Nova Squad members. And yeah, so she's dead, except not, so she's back, she's active again. Wesley's doing whatever. They have not written a book yet saying what has happened with the other woman, so as far as anyone knows, she's still kicking around Starfleet.
She offed herself.
Yikes.
And
Yikes.
That's my headcanon.
apparently at some point, what's Tom Paris'
Locarno.
Locarno was bopping around space with mercenaries, and then they ran into the Borg and he got assimilated.
Oof.
Yep,
Why?
I don't know.
I believed the first half of that, and the rest is just fucking fan fiction.
Yep.
Yikes. All right. What else on Lower Decks?
Good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
really
really
good.
Yeah,
Well
they
done.
considered having a Barkley in there as another person waiting for his evaluation. They didn't do that.
But it would
That
have
would've
been
been-
him, like, tapping the side.
Yeah, it would've been
that
too
kind of
much. It would've
thing.
just-
Freaking out.
It would have distracted from... I mean, I like Barkley, but
Yeah,
you
this
would have
wasn't- those wasn't
distracted
for
from the
him.
core.
Oh, that's a good point. Just one final note. Yeah, the crew evaluations was the B plot here,
Yeah.
and
Secret B plot.
and that's an interesting thing. So it sounds like they do it every 3 months.
Apparently.
That's crazy. They have to do
Well, no,
everybody.
quarterly. It's just a
What
quarterly.
is it? I don't know. I've never been.
Or maybe
If
do
you
it-
have 2 people,
Maybe
if
you-
Riker and Troy are the only 2 people doing the evaluations, you would why you would think it's a ship with a hierarchy that Worf would conduct the evaluations of the
Well, maybe the reason it's every couple of months is because you don't do the whole crew at once.
maybe.
And also what you're doing is you're reviewing reports sent to you by...
Maybe
Maybe that's what it is like...
maybe Riker was only evaluating Dickface.
Well, he was it's gotten to the point where it's like, all right, we want to fill this position. It's a bridge position. This falls to Riker, and everything else is
I
just.
guess they do show that because Crusher does the evaluation on.
Ogawa.
Ogawa.
So she probably just sent the report to
Yeah, that's a
Riker,
good
who
point.
because it's not his department, just goes, "What? Yeah, you're fine. Sure, whatever. I trust Bev."
But still, I get annual evaluation at work.
Yeah, well, except maybe that's what it is though, because the crew is so big, they just do
They
a
split it up.
portion of the crew every 3 months, and so that for your point of view as a crew member, you're only getting evaluated annually.
Mm.
But for the sanity of the people that do the evaluations and have to sign off on them, it's like, we are breaking this up. Because there
Yeah,
are
makes
too
sense.
many people.
I buy it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can also have the computer kind of keep an eye on certain ones when necessary too.
Maybe.
Cool, neat stuff.
Troublemakers like that Wesley.
What's next?
Well, next is Thine Own Self, another really good one. I got all the good ones this week. Let me remember what happens in Thine Own Self. We open up on Barkon 4, a planet inhabited by a society that's probably at about their Renaissance level of technology.
Yeah.
Is what I've read. Sounds about right to me.
Certainly that's the close.
Data wanders in holding a box that says radioactive on it,
With a weird new hairdo.
looking all roughed up. Nice. And doesn't remember who the fuck he is.
And he makes a horrible noise.
Ames is
What was
into
the
some
noise?
weird
It was like-
shit. You know what it was? It was the noise that Edward Scissorhands makes after he tries with some brown liquor or other in Edward
I haven't
Scissorhands.
seen that in years.
Oh, well, he makes like a sound
Yeah,
after.
it's the noise of having walked through many, many miles of desert and not having remembered how to use fucking words. And Data, in a couple minutes, learns the language of these people. Fucking awesome.
Mhm.
They don't know what the
Sorry.
fuck to make of him. Their village magistrate Garvin and his daughter Gia find him, try to figure out what's going on. They name him Jaden because he doesn't know what his name is. He doesn't know fucking anything.
They should have gone
And-
with Mr. Radioactive.
I liked that. Mr. Radioactive was pretty great.
Oh
That's
my
his
God.
superhero name.
Yeah.
Tell me, this question is specifically for Chris. Tell me every time they said radioactive, you didn't think, radioactive, radioactive.
I didn't. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god, I did every frickin' time.
That's great, Caitlin.
That's a cool.
Thanks,
thing.
James.
So Talur, their village healer, is trying to tell everyone, okay, we figured out this thing with Jaden. He's actually an iceman who comes from the mountains, and his skin is like that because he has to blend in with the snow and all this stuff, and he lives in the cold, and that's why he looks like that. And they're like, yeah, that sounds about right for our level of technology.
That
We
tracks.
agree with you.
Which I just like to. Well, I'll wait for this. Go on.
They open up his radioactive box because they don't know what the fuck radioactive means, and they find all this radioactive material, and they're like, "This stuff is cool. Let's wear it as jewelry all
Let's
over
touch
the
it
place."
lots.
I'm gonna lick mine, and
I'm gonna have mine ground into powder and drink it in my wine.
like Kool-Aid,
Ooh.
Kool-Aid wine.
That Kool-Aid's got a zip.
Sporan, the village blacksmith, buys off all this radioactive metal, turns it into jewelry, sells it around the village, and everyone starts getting sick.
He didn't do a very good job either. It looks like
No.
he just kind of
Added a
took
chain.
chunks of it and put it on chains.
He's
That's
a
not.
dick anyway. He tried to screw. Well, he did. He'd screwed Data on the money he owed him, and
Oh yeah, he was the worst.
Yeah, no, fuck him.
and everyone's getting sick, and they start blaming Data. They realize, okay, everyone started getting sick when you arrived, therefore it's your fault. And Data, who's already, got this mind that's working out the problem, is realizing, wait a minute, it's actually the metal. The metal is what's making us all sick. Sorry, Toller, you're entirely wrong that it's just, some kind of flu that's going around or whatever. Let me see if I can help. The villagers fucking revolt, whack him in the head and chop off some of his flesh to show that dun dun dun, he's got all these glowy bits that they don't understand.
Well, he's not people.
And Dana doesn't understand it either because he has no idea that he's a robot, like Juliana Taylor didn't either. But he doesn't pass out and have his son figure it out for him. But he starts developing this cure for this radioactive symptom. He cures Garvin and Gia and they're all right. But the rest of the villagers, as he's about to save the day, he puts all the rest of the tonic into the well water so that everyone's gonna be okay. But they kill the fuck out of him with a stick and bury him underneath the well, I guess. That seemed like a good place for him. Bev and Riker come down and say, hey, we're missing our friend. Pale fella. Looks kind of like an Iceman. And they're like, oh man, that was Jaden. He's dead now. Sorry. So they get him back, they turn him back on. And Data wakes up in sickbay and takes a look over at Troy and learns about the second half of the plot, which is that Troy was taking the commander test and failing repeatedly the commander test of trying to figure out what to do in a certain situation. Very Kobayashi Maru-like, but with an actual fucking answer. The actual fucking answer being, send Geordi to his death, like all of you want to do sometimes, when he's acting like that.
Yeah, I do like that the only qualification for being a commander on the ship is killing Geordi.
Well, no, there had been other tests. This was just the one she kept failing.
Okay, Riker. I've killed Worf. I've killed Barclay. I've killed myself. What do I have to do to pass this test?
So Troy gets to live with this. Wow, I made it to commander, but now I know I'm capable of killing Geordi. I don't know if I actually want this, but I guess I do because sitting on the bridge is cool. Whatever.
But I already
Wasn't
did
she
it
already
anyway.
doing that? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but she doesn't get to. She's not allowed to drive the ship, I guess.
Well, yeah, but remember last time they let her drive the ship, and she was like, does anybody else have an idea?
And Ro and
Well,
Brian had to be like...
But what I actually found interesting was that the dilemma that she faced in that in Disaster, when she had to, the choice that she was having to make was essentially the choice that she had to make to pass the test. Was to kill everybody. We could either kill everybody in engineering and save the people in the saucer, or
we'll all die.
Or we'll all die, which is exactly the test that she had to do for Riker, in which case the answer was kill Geordi.
Yeah. Why did I think we'd already watched this episode? I think maybe because you've seen it relatively recently.
Yeah, I like this one. I rewatch this one from time to time.
Yeah, it's another really good episode. Good. It's a lot. It's very Who Watches the Watchers, but I bet Chris didn't hate it.
I didn't. What I really liked about this though was that, what was the healer's name?
Talur.
She was a good scientist. For
the capacities that they had.
Well,
they had a microscope.
Well, and like when she was presented with new information, she didn't immediately be like, "No, this is what I learned. This is what I'm sticking with." Like she was like, "All right, I want to see."
Like that with the elements.
Like first, yeah, but I mean, like,
do you see the fire that's in the wood?
But after Data had sort of later on is presenting all this stuff to where she's like, "All right, but I want to see your information when I get back." Like,
I want to see your data.
Yes.
Every time they said Data, I expected it to snap him out of it.
Me too.
And for him to be like, hey, Data, that sounds familiar.
Data.
Whatever.
Good name.
Oh, of course they
nice house.
Nice house.
They're not actually saying Data. They're saying whatever their word for Data is.
That's probably true.
Fine.
But no, I appreciate that she wasn't just like a complete stick in the mud, which is an easy trap to fall into when writing a scientist in stuff. Like at the end, she's like, "You seem to be making some points. I guess I'll keep an open mind at least."
Well, one thing so you do have the scene with her and the elements.
Yeah, that's
it was a little of a silly scene. I don't mind it as a scene. Because it's more like look at how primitive these people are.
Yeah, it's showing us just where they're at with technology.
But prior to that, she'd already demonstrated a knowledge of natural selection when she's describing why Data looks the way he does.
Yeah.
It's not because he's a foreigner and foreigners look different. It's because he's from the mountains and the winds mean that you evolve and have pale skin and eyes,
Well,
and you're very strong.
every society is going to like do things in a different order, I think, depending on what kind of stuff that they're accustomed to, what kind of stuff they learn, what order they learn things in.
And
I don't know who these mountain people are.
And it also goes to show, though, that being a good scientist in maybe one area, such as, evolutionary biology, evidently, and being a good scientist in other areas, a chemist, don't always go hand in hand.
And being fair, you don't necessarily need to understand... you don't need to really understand the finer building blocks of the universe to I mean, Charles Darwin probably didn't know fuck about atoms.
I mean, famously, Isaac Newton was an alchemist.
Yeah, it's true.
So like, you can't win them all.
Yeah, but yeah, so I thought she was a good character in that way, and that, like, she made sense for, like, her time, their level of tech. I appreciate, like you said, that she was, like, there's some amount of, like, because that's the thing, is every era, it's like, we know exactly how everything works now. And then 100 years later, you're like, wow, a lot of that was wrong. But there was at least some logic to a decent-ish amount of... I mean, the elements thing is a bit, okay. But, again, like I said, they at very least understand, to an extent, evolution. Or at least adaptation techniques. Yeah. One thing I kind of secretly hoped was that, at the end when Data's like, oh yeah, there was an energy surge. I guess that fried me. I was like, the last thing I remembered was... some huge monster charging at me. So that it turns out they were real.
That'd be great.
But it was not to be.
It was the Mugatu.
Yes.
Wait, so it turned out who was real?
Mountain people.
Because she had mentioned that, of course, all the Icemen have strength to fend off the monsters. And Data's like, what monsters? Oh, the monsters everyone knows live in the mountains. What are they like? Knows. She's like, well, no one's ever seen them. We just know they're there.
Well, and that's also interesting to me. Like, so this... they do say that this village is... The crash site was over 100 kilometers from the nearest village.
Something like that, yeah.
So they weren't... They said that at the beginning. When
who said? Data did?
No, Crusher.
Oh, Crusher did, that's right.
Crusher said it to Troy. So, but it does seem interesting to me that they have this village and evidently nobody has ever gone to the mountains. That would be like...
Nobody's returned from the mountains.
Maybe that's how they know there's monsters.
Maybe. People die in the mountains and they just assume, it must have been the monsters. But yeah, it just seems a lot to me that, like, by Renaissance times, most of the Earth had been, visited. People knew that there was, stuff beyond the Alps in Roman times.
Well, we don't know anything about these mountains. They could be
really bad mountains.
They could make Everest look like a pimple.
They could be radioactive.
You might not be able to get elephants over them.
It's also possible that, like, other, we don't know exactly a lot about that. It could be this one village. It's just people who kind of largely don't give a fuck. There could be another city on the other side of the mountains that are
like fully modern. They got the internet.
But they're more, they're more willing to be like adventurous.
This is actually
mountaineers.
that movie, that Shyamalan movie.
Oh,
spoiler alert!
Oh, that one.
Yes.
The village.
The village.
Damn it! I was gonna make a joke and say like
the Metropolis.
No, it was fucking
Lady in the Water.
No, what's the one there with Bruce Willis?
Sixth Sense.
No, the other one's Bruce Willis.
I don't fucking know.
The
There's
one with
another one?
Unbreakable.
Yeah, that's the one. That was a good joke. Yeah. Glad I said it.
Good one.
The happening.
Cool joke, dude.
The fucking happening. So awful.
I never saw that one.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I read the plot summary.
Agonizingly bad.
What's the plot
wretched.
of it?
Everyone starts randomly killing themselves because something's being let off by the plants, so you have to avoid being near plants, or the plants will make you kill yourself.
What a twist!
Nature gets its comeuppance.
It's a crazy twist.
Revenge.
Life
we are getting our comeuppance.
Yeah, we're getting yes. Nature's revenge. The wrath of nature.
So it's like the Lorax speaks for the trees, and
do we see Johnny stabs a lot at the end?
In the village?
Yeah.
Johnny stabs.
Because I'm kind of hoping he got killed by the feedback, because fuck him.
I have no idea what we're talking about now.
The guy that stabbed Data with the javelin at the end.
He didn't die, though, because he fell back, but they showed him...
Oh, they did? Okay,
yeah,
I couldn't remember.
I mean, he might have died later,
Hopefully.
I don't know. Yeah.
He's a wicked that actor. He's
absolutely.
He's one of those people that, like, I looked him up. I don't particularly remember a ton of stuff, but he's just in fucking
he's got that
everything.
face. He's got that face. I'm like, I know you from things, but I don't know what any of them are.
He's like been a cop 12 times. Probably.
He was in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he played a mechanic.
Oh, okay. He was in Friends.
Oh, yeah.
He was the Amco guy.
He was.
Okay. That's where I was trying to place him then, because I know him.
I didn't write it down, but he was in, like, So I Married an Axe Murderer. Oh, that's right. What I did write down is that he was a Klingon once. He was the one when they're sharing drinks during the Civil War. He's the guy they share a drink with.
Oh.
Wait, who
The
was
one
he?
that Kern is like in Worf's like, why are you drinking with the enemy?
Yeah.
And Kern's like, brother, here we're all Klingon. But
Yeah, he's the other guy.
tomorrow we'll be sucking each other's dicks.
Oh,
And I don't know who he was in So I Married an Axe Murderer, but he's apparently in it.
Huh.
One thing, and this is just...
he's,
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares. Carry on.
Was he the guy with Michael Richards in the newsroom?
No.
No. Who was he?
No one cares.
No
I
one
care.
cares!
Well,
Look
I
it
care.
up on your phone,
It's
damn it!
50-50.
I'll tell you later.
But I mean, I looked it up. I just didn't recognize the character name. Who was he?
I think he was like one of the friends that was verifying, like, oh yeah, that was what's-his-name's wife, all right.
Oh, yeah, I think
She
he was.
lost some weight, or whatever.
I think you're right, yeah.
I haven't seen So I Married an Axe Murderer in probably 20 years.
Dude, why? It's so good.
It's fine. I just don't watch a ton of TV or movies or shit.
Michael Myers was also famous for being in the Austin Powers series.
We're not talking about that either. We've talked about that in far too many
So,
episodes.
one thing I found distracting,
Wayne's World.
and this isn't the fault of the episode, it's just time passes and things happen. It was hard to take Jaden as a name seriously, because now it's a name of, like, every fucking 15-year-old Little Leaguer.
They just love the parents just love this episode.
It's like, in 1990, whatever, it was probably a very uncommon name, but now it's like, Jesus, I'm gonna have students with that name in about 3 years.
It was also a little close to comfort to Picard's name from Inner Light, which was Kamen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit that.
Yeah.
A little bit learning about unlike society by kind of walking among them kind of a thing.
Although, sadly, he doesn't remember any of it at the
No,
end.
that's true.
Of course, this society's not dead.
That is kind of lovely that he doesn't know that he saved them.
What I also found kind of amusing was they repaired him, but didn't bother changing his clothes.
He liked him.
They presumably had to take the clothes off to do some of the fixing, and then they put them back on him.
Well, they
Maybe
didn't want to be
maybe
running
it was
around
all
naked.
done with like a replicator. Maybe they just
Maybe.
replicated the fake skin on
It-
him.
That could be.
They did make sure to have a hole in it, though.
They did. And I noticed they didn't fix the hole.
Because I thought
The
at first,
tailor was out that day.
At first there wasn't. At first I thought there wasn't a hole, and I was like, nerd thing. Oh, nope, there it is. Never mind.
There it is.
I stand corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Evidently, Data can take a shit ton of abuse and
Yeah.
not permanently
Yeah,
be
he
damaged.
can.
Well, because you figure that thing went through where his lung
Multiple
would
techniques.
be. He doesn't have a lung.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's important components.
Sure, but I mean, it's just like he's got more room for like non-essential crap.
He's like a Klingon. He has redundant.
Redundant,
components.
That's true. It's probably true.
I was thinking that too. So does that mean he also has 2 dicks?
He's got an alternate attachment that does.
There you go.
He can swap them out.
So I was looking into something fucking terrifying in regards to this episode.
Why?
Just going down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, which was a mistake.
Uh-oh.
I started looking into the Goiânia accident in Brazil in 1987, in which, so there was this, and there's a little video I might share from YouTube that they made a little short film about it and fictionalized a couple elements. But there was an abandoned hospital in this, the Goiânia, I want to say city or town or something or other in Brazil, and the scrap dealers go in there, find this thingamajigger. They're like, hey, we can sell this for scrap metal.
Oh, no.
They take the thingamajigger, they bring it to their dealer, they open it up, and they find all this shit, like this blue powdery shit in there. And they're like, what's this? I don't know. Let the kids play with it.
Whoops.
And they let one of the daughter of the scrap dealers, the scrapyard owner, like play with the stuff. She like rubs on her face.
No.
She eats a sandwich after handling it.
No.
All this stuff. And the capsule contained radioactive cesium chloride.
What is that?
Was it like an X-ray tube?
It was
or
like an
something?
X-ray thing, yeah. It resulted in 4 deaths. The little girl, she was 6 years old, I want to say. Her aunt and 2 of the other people who work in the scrapyard. None of the people, like the people who actually went and got the fucking X-ray tube, only had like their fingers and or arm amputated from handling the shit.
Only.
But I think they lived. But yeah, I watched a little video on YouTube about it, and it's very upsetting because you're watching like, look, they called it some kind of confetti, like garbage confetti or something like that. Like, hey, play with this fucking shit.
You got it from a hospital.
It's, yeah.
Like, what?
Maybe about, but then again, these are probably uneducated or not well-educated people that might not even know that radiation is a thing or that X-rays are a problem.
But then it's like, it's a hospital. All kinds of bad shit lives in hospitals.
But you know how much, like, hospitals are expensive. There's probably all kinds of valuable shit in hospitals.
I know, but crime and
something that looks as fancy as an X-ray tube. The one thing that this episode reminded me of is a recent story that I was reading about how there's this challenge, essentially, so there's all this nuclear waste on Earth, right? From nuclear reactors, from atomic bombs, there's all this nuclear waste. And it's not going to be safe to be around for like 10,000 years or more. Yeah. So these scientists and people are like, okay, well, how do we store this stuff in a way that for 10,000 years, nobody will go near it because it'll fucking kill them.
Yeah. Because how do you make it clear to people eons after you stay away from this shit? Because they're going to see they're radioactive and say we don't know what that fucking means. Yeah,
so, because the idea is that okay, so are humans, if you showed a word of English to somebody 1,000 years ago, they wouldn't know what it meant. Yeah. Forget 10,000 years in the future, they're not going to know anything about our language. I mean, they might. I mean, maybe somebody, or and this also assumes, okay, well, what if there's a societal collapse, it might not even be humans. It might be some other people.
Well, and even the radioactive logo won't mean anything.
So
someday.
Scientists have been trying to figure this out. So the idea is like, what do? Do you make
cartoons? It impossible to get into is what you got to do.
Do you make cartoons that show happy person touches a thing and then dead person? Well, how do you represent what dead means? Because what we think of dead is like a skull and crossbones, and we think, well, that's pretty clear. But maybe they take after the Day of the Dead stuff, the sugar skulls, and they're like, ooh, fun party.
And maybe I was gonna say just X's for eyes, but maybe they will have X-shaped eyes.
But so it's so there's a real challenge, and some of them are like, well, what if we just made it really like a really hellish place? Made it put sharp spikes in the ground, and I'm just like, that's just gonna be like an Indiana Jones attraction.
What's really coming down to is someday someone's gonna dig one of these things. I was like, I think this thing's about an ancient curse. You open this up and death will come.
But that's probably what they will think.
I'm gonna get us back away from the Data plot, making me very sad. Although my first note was, what did Data just fuck to death?
Oh, nice. He looks very. You must be into some weird shit.
Sadly, no.
I don't know. There was that time you got all hot and bothered over a drowning Crash Bandicoot.
That's fair. But now I'm going to talk about the less sexy plot, the Troy plot. Because I'm a little bit confused about just how exactly and why exactly you need to make Commander to do the bridge stuff when she's been in charge of the bridge before.
Well, that was because she was the highest ranking person
it was a technicality, but she's done it before and could probably do it again in a pinch.
Yeah, I think she wants to be in the watch rotation.
In the rotation to do stuff in addition to your usual job?
I mean, she barely does that.
How many hours a day are they working?
Well, Bev seems to be having an awfully good time.
Yeah, Bev was like, I like being a doctor, but every now and again I like to sit on the bridge and give orders.
Here's the thing.
To the night crew?
Yeah.
Here's what they don't tell you. Picard's chair, built-in shiatsu. It is.
Oh.
Only his has it, though. The flanking chairs, no. No, it's only for the captain.
Use one in your quarters.
It's not as good.
Now there's more cats on the table.
There's so many cats.
How many cats do you guys have?
More every day.
Why are there 5?
No black cat, I'm sorry.
I see those things online. Like, people talk about they get home.
This isn't my cat.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, never happened to me. I want a surprise cat.
Sammy was kind of our surprise cat.
Well, yeah, but he never got in the house accidentally.
Not accidentally. On purpose that one time.
Yes.
A lot of feral cat into your home?
No, he wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't feral. The people who owned him across the street fucking moved and dumped him.
Oh, poor kitty boy.
But he mostly, like, he'd been an outdoor cat even when they lived there.
Yeah, he tried to move into our house when we were moving into our house, actually. Remember? He kept trying to get in?
Well, I don't even sure he was just being curious, but yes.
Right, but I mean, like, you know.
But there was one day where the weather was particularly nasty, and we...
I was, like, crying and was like, I have to let him in the house.
We let him in the basement. We closed him in there so we wouldn't get to our cats, because we weren't sure, you know, he might have had stuff.
Well, yeah, we didn't know if he had shots, we didn't know if he had fleas, we didn't know what he had, so...
But yeah,
I made him, like, a makeshift, like, litter box out of the top of a copy paper box, and I brought him some food and water, and that next morning, he was like, get me the fuck out of here!
Yeah,
And we were like, all right,
when I
bye.
opened the door to the basement, he was gone, so he definitely preferred being outdoors.
Yeah, he was a good boy. But then, our neighbors, who were diagonal across the street, adopted him when they moved.
Oh.
So he
that's
got
good.
a forever home
They
after all.
managed
That's a good story.
They managed to coax him in and get him used to being an indoor cat.
I mean, ish. I'm sure he was never really happy about it completely, but...
And that's basically the story of how Deanna Troi became a commander.
Pretty much.
I mean,
He just kind of adopted it.
Yeah.
she fed it and watered it, and then eventually...
But, I want to point out one thing about that Deanna plot. At one point, she's like, so what if I don't know the name between... the difference between a plasma conduit and a phase inverter? And I'm like, wait a minute. And that might have been it, but it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was two things that I think I could tell the difference of between.
Well, yeah, you're a bigger nerd than her.
And that's where I get very unclear. It's like, what exactly... Because, you know, as a gigantic fucking ship, you have lots and lots of people whose job it is to know the difference between a plasma converter and a fuck machine.
That's the thing. It does seem weird.
Same
Wait, a
difference,
fuck
though.
machine?
Sure.
I think the idea is that, like, a senior officer, someone that is a commander, should have
Knowledge a mile wide and an inch deep?
Yeah, well, maybe, no, you know, sufficient knowledge on a few, you know, strong knowledge on a few things, but be able to fill in and understand what the people around
Jack
her
of all
are
trades.
saying. Yeah.
A Jake of all trades.
A Jill of all trades.
So, like, you know, if you know, Geordi comes up and says, hey, I need to, you know, vent the warp plasma into the children's nursery, you can be like, that's not a good idea, Geordi. Let's vent it into the Finny tube instead.
Hey, Finny, you in there? Yeah, I'm down here. Nope, I don't hear him. I guess it's all good. Dump it.
He's been there for 80 years or whatever.
It's not even the same shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the point was that we didn't see any of the other tests other than the engineering qualification.
They listed some of the other tests.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really an engineering qualification. It was a
Killing Jordan qualification.
Do you have the balls to kill your friend qualification?
Here's the thing. Anyone can kill their hollow friend. Can you really kill the flesh and blood one?
I mean...
Yeah, it's got to be more like the test that they had on Wesley, where you think it's real.
And speaking of Wesley, I was told in no uncertain terms that the first duty of any Starfleet officer is to the truth. And now I'm being told it's to the ship?
Yeah, they
Same
keep
thing.
changing it.
It's a ship called Truth.
God damn it. Riker changing the rules?
Well, Riker was kind of a bitch. In fact, that's my link between these two episodes is this is just a tough love day from Riker.
Yeah.
Which is what Deanna used to be into.
And
I was
evaluations.
waiting for
right?
it. I knew there was going to be some kind of joke.
Promotions all around.
That's actually in my notes.
Oh.
Everyone's getting promoted.
Except Data.
Except
And that girl
dead
that
woman.
died. Yeah.
That was my last note was, you know, where she's like, you have to call me sir now. I just want to be like, fuck, I will.
Oh,
And then he says, yes, sir, or something, didn't he?
He actually did, yeah. But
Which was cute.
he seemed confused, and rightly so, because it's...
Data
Deanna's
must
a
feel
person.
like a shit, right? Because he's been in Starfleet for, 25 years? Is that what they say?
27?
Well, they activated him 25 years ago, and I think he still had to go to the academy.
Yeah, he still went
He
to
did
the
go to the
academy.
academy.
Okay, so
He
let's say,
probably got through it in a
say,
year.
let's say he's been on active Starfleet duty for 20 years.
Mm,
Or
duty.
15 even. I mean, that's a long time, and he hasn't really advanced. He's
He
kind of
probably
stuck.
doesn't really care that much.
Also, if Beverly Crusher has been a commander from day one, why wasn't she put in command of a ship at the blockade of the Romulans?
Well, you know how women are; they can't drive.
She
or
was
something.
probably more important as a CMO in the capacity of CMO at the time.
Maybe.
That's a good point.
Which is why I find it so odd that she's in this rotation to be like captain for a couple hours every so often.
But Data often sits the watch, and he's not a commander.
But he doesn't need to sleep either.
But that's the thing.
he's
though.
just
If,
there
if,
'cause
if
he's
you
up.
need, if what they're saying in this episode is the rule is you need to have the rank of commander to sit the watch, how is Data qualified?
Is he
to
not
do
a
that?
lieutenant commander?
He's a lieutenant, but so was Troy.
Yeah.
He
When
was
did we
already
see-
a lieutenant commander.
When did we see Data do the watch?
He,
A couple
He
times.
does, yeah. At the during Data's day, he was on the watch. I think they showed.
Was he in the chair?
He was
Yep.
in the chair.
Okay,
He often
okay.
we've seen him a number of times, and he took command of that ship with First Officer Dickwad.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe-
but that was during the blockade thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was Wesley didn't command
Maybe
the ship.
it's
you know?
only a
Well,
requirement for
would
medical
you give Wesley a ship?
staff because they had different kind of
Maybe,
training, whereas
yeah.
someone in the operations line
But
is
Data's
already.
not a red shirt. He's a yellow shirt.
Well, yeah, but operations and command probably have similar.
Maybe.
So I feel like the impression I'm under is most
It's
command
really
people.
women. For women, we need to
Starfleet's
be
still
extra,
really sexist.
extra sure that they're not going to fuck it
Well,
up.
they have to make sure that you'll kill somebody.
We know how emotional you broads can be, so we got to make sure you can kill a man.
With your bare hands.
Gladly.
We call this this is the Gital qualification for command.
I like that we're sitting here trying to figure out why it is the way it is when in reality it's like, oh yeah, the writers fucking forgot they did that time.
Pretty much.
Probably, yeah.
Still better than Game of Thrones, so we're okay there.
Fucking dude. It's not mine. It's not mine. I stole it from... It is, right? Didn't I steal it from Regular Features?
Natalie's.
Yeah.
Fucking doo-doo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Now we're one of those podcasts that's like... Oh,
I'm not gonna talk about Game of Thrones.
Oh, we didn't watch Game of Thrones. We're much too sophisticated.
I do watch
I
Game
was
of Thrones.
busy... Oh, well.
I just was displeased with it.
Oh, well, that's different.
I think most people were.
It's funny. When I first heard about it, most of the people I heard from didn't really... they weren't in love with it, but they didn't really mind it.
Fucking lick spittles.
I always just figured, because I couldn't be asked, I was like, I'll just wait till it's done and watch all of it in a batch someday. So it's now on the...
Don't bother.
It's now on the increasingly long list of shit I have to
Keep
get
moving
around
it down
to.
the list.
Definitely
Keep
watch...
it on the bottom of the pile.
Definitely watch The Good Place first.
Here's the thing. Because I know everyone's disappointed, I'll go in with lower expectations.
There you go.
And that worked really well for me with Mass Effect, because everyone hated the way it ended. And going and playing it years later, I thought the ending was, wasn't amazing, but it was nowhere near as
talking
bad.
about the third one? Well, they had rewritten it by then, too. Or
Well, they added, a couple extra things, but even so, people were still like, this ending mostly sucks. And I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Here's the thing. No one is ever happy with how a beloved thing ends. How many shows have you seen where you thought that was a great ending?
Breaking
Well, but yeah, Breaking Bad's good.
Okay.
I hear in a couple weeks we're gonna have a good ending.
Bad. Yeah, that's a good one. That's true. But it's not just that. It's not that they didn't stick the landing. I don't want to make this a Game of Thrones thing, but it's not that they didn't stick the landing. It's that they literally went back. They didn't George Lucas literally go back, but they destroyed so many of the plot lines that they had built up across the entire series and just either...
That's because they didn't have a plan. It's because the first several seasons, they had a perfect plan because they had books that had been painstakingly written over a fucking hugely long span of time.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
then
they even forgot about shit that they themselves put in,
Again, because they didn't have a plan.
Yeah, and then they had 6 episodes to tie it all together.
Not to be one of these Babylon 5 people, but a lot of the reasons why people love Babylon 5 is because there was a 5-year Bible of exactly how this arc is going to go, and a lot of people say that's why it was so good.
It's just Game of Thrones joins the esteemed club that also includes such members as Dexter and Lost. In the what a great show!
Lost is another great example of shows that didn't have a plan. They had no idea where they were going with it when they started, and they admitted it.
From what I've heard, apparently the books of Dexter got even worse than the show.
Well,
There were books?
It was
Series novels.
The first season was based, I believe, on the first book.
Yeah,
And
but I guess
then
the books
after
really
that,
went off the rails.
After that, they completely diverged.
Because apparently the books go to crazy town in a bad way.
Well, that sounds like...
Anyway, we haven't been talking about Star Trek for like 10 minutes. We're clearly done.
let's
Just
move
10
on.
minutes?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our Star to Steer by Star Trek thing. Next time on our pod show, we will be talking about 2 episodes of Shrek the Generation Next. They are Maps?
Map.
Hate that
Masks.
song.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I like that song.
What song?
Maps.
All right.
By the Yeah.
I like the map song that
Sad
Dora
story
sings.
behind that song.
Oh, probably.
We'll be
I
talking
don't
about
know.
masks and Eye of the Beheadler. Eye of the Beholder.
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of Beholder.
See, I can never tell if you can't read the thing or if you're just making words up.
I can never tell if you just can't read the thing or you're actually having a stroke.
Yeah. So this is coming up. Masks and Eye of the Beholder. That'll be next week. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with those ones. So I'm looking forward to that.
I fucking hate when Jake clearly remembers what the next episodes are about, and so he fucking teases us with this bullshit.
Yep, I remember that from when I watched those episodes so long ago. Yeah, so we'll be talking about those in about 10 minutes. I mean, we'll be talking about those in a week.
It's gonna be a week-long pee break.
But until then, you can like our Facebook.
You can.
You can also like our Twitter and Tumblr, SSHB Podcast. You can go to our webpage, sshbpodcast.com, and you can download a Star to Steer Her By on whatever podcast thing you like, whether it's iTunes, Google Tunes, or...
Google Tunes. Sorry.
I say that every fucking week.
I know, but today it was really funny.
Okay.
It took me this long to get it, Jake. Okay.
Or the king of podcasting platforms, your friend and mine, the Sound Clown.
Woo.
My name has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Bye.
Daniel Levy does it better.
My mother, who's a bit of a...
This is what the pyramids have been trying to
so,
tell us!
So she's always had a kind of a bent for like conspiracy or cover-up type stuff. So stuff like the mythological stuff. One of her things is the Ark of the Covenant, as famously in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And she was like, she thinks that the Ark, or maybe she thinks, but she read some theory about how that the Ark actually contained radioactive material that Moses or somebody brought down from the mountain. That it wasn't a burning bush, it was maybe a meteorite that had crashed. So they thought, that's God. So they packed up the meteorite fragments. It started killing people. So they put it in a box and then carried the box around the desert as God for 40 years. And then it vanished, and it was some kind of nuclear
Or they were just
radioactive material.
Even in the box, it's killing people. We're leaving it here.
Yeah.
That actually, I mean...
It's not like I don't think it's...
As far as things I've heard go, that's not
I think it's because,
dumb.
there's legends of the Ark itself being used as a weapon.
Well, they used to use smallpox and plague blankets as weapons.
Right. So the idea
They'd
is that...
hunt
So, again,
snakes
I don't know that
with-
there's any hard evidence. It's really more conjecture.
I
But
got your hard evidence right here.
It's a cool story idea.
Well,
that,
it's not a stretch.
they found some shit that killed you, assumed it was God, and put it in a box to keep it safe.
And that's,
Very interesting.
In that, over the course of thousands of years, it turns into this big... That, honestly, I could see that. Because there's plenty of naturally occurring radioactive material.
Yeah, and if it was a meteorite or something that had crashed, it might have looked like a burning bush. Or it might have been translated into burning bush over many, many years.
Well, especially if they don't have a word for it.
bush or meteorite.
Meteorite, yeah.
And really, the true
Oh man, I
burning
love.
bush is
So I saw
gonorrhea.
this thing. Speaking of meteorites, so meteorites.
Are we on pretzels again? What's this? Go on.
Meteorites are pretty cool. No. So that there's a lot of like artifacts, like knives and stuff and swords that have been forged out of like meteorite steel.
Oh,
So like, you know, ancient blacksmiths or ancient people, the Vikings or whatnot, would find, oh look, a big chunk of steel. They would forge an awesome weapon out of it.
Will it kill the Night King?
It might.
the original. I won't go into detail because no one cares, and also it would take me about 20 minutes.
Why can't I get off of that?
But the original 1930s Green Lantern was actually made from metal that came down in a meteorite.
Yeah. Cool shit.
Alan Scott with his awesome cloak.